Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
This episode is brought to you by Google Chrome. You think you know a browser, but Gemini and Chrome? That's new. It can help you with practically anything on the web, like restoring a vintage motorcycle from a 50-page restoration blog, or finally break down that long article you've had open for weeks. Gemini and Chrome is here for it. Ready to make anything online make sense? There's no place like Chrome. Check responses, setup required, compatibility and availability varies, 18+.
You know, we're a survival and prepping channel, and you know, it's the Survival and Basic Badass podcast. And every once in a while, we like to do a badass episode of, you know, people who really set the standard. And usually we deep dive into one, and then sometimes there's stories where we don't even have enough details to, you know, go deep into them. So like to go too crazy. But I thought we'd put like a compilation of some great badasses together, people who really define shit, but also people who like kind of MacGyvered their way. Some of you aren't old enough, but basically, you know, empty their pocket and are like, I could build a tank with this. Kind of like the A-Team, Kevin.
Right.
It'll
The
be
A-Team, B.A. Baracus.
A-Team, the A-Team episode, you know, where you kind of make anything out of anything. And that's the trick, man. So maybe it's not MacGyvering. Maybe it's like B.A. Baracusing. I guess it was just too hard to say that people couldn't. That's why I didn't catch on. But all right. So who do you got? Who's number one, Kevin?
Well, I've got this guy, Tengiz Sharavgalid.
All right, I'm going to ask you and put you on the spot.
Name.
Oh, it's Ukrainian. That's it. I was going to say, what's his nationality?
Yeah, so he was a Ukrainian. He was a Soviet, and he was a railway engineer when the Germans invaded, and he was captured, escaped from the prison camp, and became a guerrilla fighter in Belarus. So he used his railway knowledge, being an engineer, and basically they didn't have enough explosives, the guerrilla fighters, to really blow up trains. And that was the main thing, is they wanted to stop the German supply lines.
Right.
So he came up with basically it's like a false rail.
Okay.
So if you blow up the engine on a tank, on a train, it locks up the air brakes. And so you can stop the train, but you're not really destroying it. So he came up with this design that you could bolt onto the railroad tracks that would just drive the train off the tracks and destroy the whole thing. So it was called the Shavgalid's wedge. And he designed that, and you could basically just make that in a forge, you know, in a random farm somewhere. So he started manufacturing a bunch of these. Then he started building explosives, built hand grenades from like plumbing supplies and stuff, like it kind of like the first pipe bombs. And he made homemade mortar launchers. Basically used old shells, empty shells, and primers from bullets to launch these bombs up and over in the enemy encampments and stuff.
Okay.
So he really was like, you know, he was an engineer, and that's what he went to, you know. He used that for you know, he's probably one of the most famous partisans in Soviet history.
That's the thing. I mean, using ingenuity to totally, you know, I mean, these are the things that change the outcomes of war, you know. They really, he made like he kind of adapted a grenade launcher.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy had a lot of, a lot of creativity going on. Now in hindsight, we can look back and see things people have done in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're inspired to do new things. I had to say, I mean, there's a lot to listening to like creative. I find if I even listen to like creative music, like more technical bands and stuff, I get like inspired. My mind gets like racing. Maybe it's why some people listen to classical music. I don't know. It just annoys me, but whatever.
Yeah.
But you get the idea. Like it just something creative inspires you. And we see all these things, and it's nice to kind of stretch the brain a little bit. And that's one of the big things like we try and do with the podcast is if you're exposed to all these different ideas, it kind of opens the door to possibility, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what makes it great. Yeah, no, I would say you definitely fit the whole badass criteria, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You know who were badasses? They even made a movie with Tom Hanks, Kevin.
You made it when Tom Hanks is representing you. You know?
I mean, it's kind of like Castaway. You're like, oh, that's pretty good.
I feel like if they made a movie of my life, it'd be Danny DeVito.
Yeah, same thing. Maybe Guy Ritchie make something for you. He'll rip something together for you. All right, Apollo 13. That's what I'm talking about. Now, these guys, like, they broke it down at the end, kind of, and they were like, look, these guys should have died 8 different ways. It wasn't even like one thing. They had to, the big thing that comes to mind is like there was a CO2 canister, and that kind of escalated everything into bad problems.
Mm-hmm.
But they solved a lot of problems. So Jim Lovell, commander, astronaut, badass. And again, I have to give you a little framework, I think. We're talking April 11th, 1970.
Right.
Kevin, 1970. Have you seen these cars? They don't have Bluetooth. They don't have, you're lucky if you get power steering.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different time. Although I got to say, my 71 F100 is kind of the go-to.
Still running, isn't it?
I do have Bluetooth in it. So, that's... Yeah, but that's... I just
you got to upgrade a couple of things.
I just rigged up something under the seat,
Mm-hmm.
You got to, open it up. Yeah, exactly. I started out like duct taping it to the floor under the seat. Apparently the exhaust gets too hot and cooks the Bluetooth. Not the way to go. So now it's actually stuck to the bottom of the seat. So that's a secret of the pros right there. But you guys might know it as the Houston, we have a problem. And that's when like shit all just falls apart. They actually they called back, and the exact quote is, Houston, we had a problem.
Because
it's all right. They're 200,000 miles from Earth. And
it's a long ways.
That's a long ways. Mission control is like, can you stir the oxygen tanks? And they're like, yeah, we'll give that a shot. And they try it, and then it explodes. And they're like, oh, that's not good. So one oxygen tank exploded, and it blew off the entire like side panel. So it was like inside a cover, blew the cover off, destroyed oxygen tank number 2. And then because of the explosion, it damaged the other oxygen tank, number 1. All right.
Right.
And it knocked out 2 of the 3 fuel cells. So now we don't have oxygen, and we have half the oxygen, and we have a third of the fuel. So all of a sudden you're starting out with like, that's one of those like, oh shit, you kind of know. And a lot of people like immediately get defeated and are like, we're going to die, and they don't, instead of just moving forward, and that's one of the big things. People don't just like persevere and push. So that's one of the, defining badass, it's like, oh, we got a problem. Let's do this. I do wonder how much of the calmness is because they know America is listening or watching.
Right? Like we gotta act cool.
We're astronauts.
You can't let them hear us cry.
Right. We can't cry on TV. So basically, the command module depends on oxygen, electricity, and water. The fuel cells combine hydrogen and oxygen to produce electricity and water, right? That's how those two things are made. And so no oxygen, no electricity, limited oxygen, limited electricity, which means no communications, no heat. Heat is a big thing when you're out in space.
Yeah, it's not real warm out there.
Right. No life support. The moon landing, they said, scrap that. This would actually been the third time they were going to land on the moon.
Okay.
Turns out we could do it like on the regular back in the day.
We can't do it now, but
now it's like
back
way
in the 70s.
70s, we were like,
Yeah.
We worked out
more
power
expendable
steering.
then. You know what I mean?
Well, that's definitely true. And they had we're like, this year we're going to get power steering and landing on the moon. We'll nail those two down. And then, so anyway, I know power steering came a couple of years earlier, but you know what I mean. You get the idea, right? So the problem is they basically needed to escape the vessel they're in. So they go into the lunar module, which is a problem because it's designed for 2 people, 45 hours, and they have 3 people and they need 90 hours. That's a little different. But mind you, where they're staying is like exploding and falling apart. Not like rapidly, immediately, but it's exploding and falling apart. Yeah. So they shut everything down. Cabin temperature drops to 38 degrees. I don't know if you know this, and you're not like prepared for a winter outing, right? When you're a space shuttle guy, right?
Right.
But the big thing is it's hard to do things when you're cold. It's hard to think. It's hard to, your teeth are chattering. You're just
even moving your fingers. Yeah.
Then when the temperature drops, everything starts condensating. So now you're wet and you're cold. The crew lost weight. Fred Hayes develops a urinary tract infection because they're drinking 6 ounces of water a day. That's the rationing they've resorted to. Right. Then they're like, all right, we got to fix the oxygen problem. Turns out, like we always think in a prepper survival sort of way, everything is like, well, we need to figure out water, right? That's number one. Yeah. Turns out when you're in space, number one is air. Water. It's air. And so they're like, all right, we got to figure out the carbon dioxide problem. And they're like, all right, well, the problem is they had canisters for the command module, but not the lunar module, like enough to, again, because the timeline meant for 2 people, not 3, and the whole thing, right? So they need to up it. But the problem is one is square and one is round. And they're just not meant at all. It's like putting your fuel filter or whatever from one vehicle to another. Fuel filter is bad example, but you get the idea. So basically they would slowly suffocate, and starving for oxygen is kind of a, so here's where the whole MacGyver thing comes in, right? Why it comes to mind. So they're like, well, what do you got? And they're like, all right, we got duct tape, plastic bags, cardboard cue cards, a flight manual, a spacesuit hoses that they connect the spacesuits. I have a pair of socks and some plastic covers. So clearly, you're on to something. They're like, oh, we got that. You didn't say you had the socks, and they're like, now I can work something out here. I'm sure that's how it went. You always see, you always see the movie or whatever where the guy's like, well, you didn't tell me you had, a paper clip. That changes everything.
So
the engineers are like, all right, let's build something. And they basically rigged together everything. And they were like, all right, well, obviously duct tape, you can, fix anything. So they knew they were going to be okay. Basically, lithium hydroxide canisters, allowing them to scrub the carbon dioxide within minutes. As soon as they basically they basically cut it apart, reshaped it, and jammed it back into the hole. It sounds simple, but we're talking about spacecraft that could go to the moon, and we don't even have technology that can go to the moon today.
There's no, there's no computers in this. You know what I mean? It's a big metal can.
That's the thing too. Like they were like, oh, we lost navigation until they get into the atmosphere. You know, like you don't have that communication stuff going on.
Right.
So the guy is like using like a sextant and looking out at the earth and going, yeah, I think, 2 degrees this way out the window.
Right.
Trying to navigate to line up, to hit that narrow window that, I don't know if you've seen.
But I mean, to be
movies.
an astronaut, you have to be a badass to start with. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's the thing. Maybe these people are just better than us. So maybe it's not that impressive because they're the best and the brightest, Kevin. So
the best of the best.
So, all right. They're already starving of oxygen, starving of water. The battery's depleted, freezing temperature, incorrect trajectory. So they're going to miss the window. They're not going to re-enter. Turns out you want to land in the ocean because when you crash into somebody's house, that's awkward too. It's like, hey, we're from NASA, but it's not.
It's cool. I'm an astronaut. I'm sorry I landed on your dog.
Everything's okay, right? The heat shield damage, no way to inspect. Then they, basically they come barreling through. Nobody knows. Everything goes silent. They're not hearing anything. And then they break through the atmosphere. We still kind of don't see them. And then the parachute pops out. And everyone's like, oh, yeah. And it just, it all kind of came together at the last minute. But it's amazing that, like, under pressure, people pulling things together. And I mean, Kevin's, first story, those things changed the course of history, right? Because also, like, if they had just died and everybody was watching it, those things are like huge setbacks for the whole everything. Right. Not just, I mean, obviously we don't want to lose people, but people are dying all the time. Like you don't even know what happened every day in Chicago on a weekend.
Yeah, no.
But we're talking about the best and the brightest for one, and that sucks, but America like puts, your faith into a hero, right? And it all comes apart. So I'm just saying, it's pretty amazing, what you can pull off and what these guys, accomplished. Kevin, you had another one about some kind of tank, a rhino tank?
Yeah. So in 1944, Allied forces landed in Normandy, right? And they captured the beaches, but they had to break out of the beaches, right? They had to get out into France. So they started landing tanks there. And problem was that they had all these ancient hedgerows in France, which are like, steep embankments. And when the tanks go over these embankments, their underside is exposed, which is the weakest point. So the Sherman tanks could get destroyed by the enemy just every time they go over these hedgerows. So Sergeant Curtis Collin, he comes up with this idea. He starts taking apart the beach obstacles that the Germans had placed on the Normandy beaches, and cuts them, re-welds them onto the Sherman tanks to make giant teeth so that they can plow right through these hedgerows. They call them the rhino tanks. Nice. And once they put them on there, instead of going up and over them, they could just plow right through these things and like basically create roads in whatever direction they were traveling in. And it basically led to the breakout of the, from the Normandy beaches for the Allied forces to, start infiltrating into the country.
That's one of the things, like, I always think is like being inspired by nature and stuff. You don't think, like you're saying, like a rhino tank, right? Obviously, rhinoceros have that big horn in the front. And that's, what he did is he welded on to the front to make teeth that could break through these dunes and do it. It's like people tried to fly, we were trying to do that for forever. And they're like, oh, birds have wings, whatever. But it was actually when people started to study the exact wing shape. You know, you had Da Vinci and these other guys that like really put effort into what's really going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they find that inspiration of stuff that already works and then able to kind of kick ass and move it into the future, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I find it fascinating where people draw inspiration, but there's a lot going on around us. Like you can see things in the world, you know, it's not, you know,
Right.
I'm just saying, but I don't know. All right.
All
So
right.
that's what you got on him. That's it. The Rhino tank is the
Rhino tank. That was the only thing he really invented, but I mean, I think that's pretty legit. I mean, when
that's
just
it.
get to
Turning
work
the
weld and
course of
shit.
a war, you know, that's really where things happen. Another guy I got now, again, this is Ernest Shackleton. Now he headed an expedition, had a ship called the Endurance, and basically they were going to go do a land traverse of Antarctica. All right. So they were going to like cross the whole thing. It was going to be the first time. He was going to set the standard. And basically, you get to explore shit, right? Like they were going to find new worlds. They were going to find those ice walls and all the people who are doing good shit. Is that Antarctica?
Yeah, that's flat Earth. It's Antarctica. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was going to get to the bottom of it. And that's
find the lizard people. You know what I mean?
Probably why it didn't work, because he couldn't get past the ice wall.
Right. And there are space Nazis in Antarctica. Yeah.
And that'll slow you down. Right. So, all right. So anyway, this guy basically goes out. Their ship ends up getting frozen. Like, you know, how you have the whole icebreaker thing. That was always a big, you know, thing in the Navy, is trying to find the right, you know, icebreaker to kind of go with you and whatever. But what they did is they kind of moved into an area. They didn't think it was going to be that bad. They thought they'd get through it and get out. Then they got stuck, and then it just started freezing around them. And then as it froze, then it started kind of crushing in and actually crushing their ship. So, I mean, it wasn't immediate. You have time to like offload stuff and
but you're in Antarctica.
But you are in Antarctica, and it's, you know, sub-zero all the time. And yeah, not good. Right. And this is 1914, right? So you didn't have whatever cool things that keep us warm back then. Exactly. GPS, satellite telephone, you know, the good things. Maybe they had a satellite telephone, but they didn't have satellites. So it was, you know, one of those things that
didn't really work out. Yeah.
You're like, hello, nothing. No. All right. I saw in the comments one of our episodes a little while back, people are like, you know, we could do without your stories. And I'm like, well, what's a podcast if you didn't have my dumb stories?
Yeah, that guy can go fuck himself.
Right? Exactly. So, you know, that's all that I have to say about that. But basically, he's got 28 men, 69 sled dogs, because they were going to use those to cross Antarctica.
69. Nice.
Accepting your reality. We always talk about, you know, people have that normalcy bias.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we can't do, like, right away. He's like, dude, we're killing and eating the dogs. Like, there's not like a fantasy of, oh, someone will come get us. Oh, it's not going to happen. Right. No. You're in Antarctica, and you need to like reality right away. Right. And his big thing is, we're going to have to like just make do. And so morale is going to be a thing. So the way he overcame it is he's like routine, right? We're going to get up. We're going to, you know, do the same thing every day. We're going to eat. He saved like musical instruments. He saved everything for morale off the ships. And people were like, that's stupid. That's a waste. But guess what? His 28 guys, 2 years, they didn't need each other.
That's big. That's big right there.
So you want to say, oh, he's a dumbass. He made the wrong call, but did he? You know, they didn't need each other. And they all live. Everyone, 28 guys. That's impressive. So let's dig down in how bad it gets, right? So he decides that they're going to have to stay camped on the floating ice for months until it starts to thaw in the spring, right? So there's no shelter, below zero, blizzards. The ice is cracking and shifting and moving, pressure. It's crushing the little thing they got. Obviously, there's no radio that's going to reach out there. No aircraft are coming, no satellites, no civilization for hundreds of miles. So he's like, all right, we're going to protect morale. Every day, same routine, meals, regular times, specific jobs, encouraged games, humors, arguments, shut them down, knock it out. Like I said, musical instruments. They basically, people were like, oh, it's extra weight, whatever. Oh, we shouldn't kill the dogs. They're here for us, whatever. We love them. You have the dog handler guy going, not scared, and you're like, no, I don't know what you do with the peanut butter, but he's going. Yeah. And so he refused to postpone reality. And I think that's the biggest, we always talk about that normalcy bias and just cutting through it and saying, no, we're going to do it. So
nobody's coming to save him.
So they're checking out, ocean currents, wind, nature, basically waiting for the moment to go. As soon as spring hits, they're like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to go to Elephant Island. Now, the first solid ground to escape, right? So they have rafts or lifeboats. Mm-hmm. They load them up. They end up being at sea for 500 or no, sorry. This is the total journey, 500 days till they find Elephant Island because they're on ice and they're whatever. Now you're thinking, oh, cool. Elephant Island, 500 miles, not the end of the world. But there's nobody there. It's a deserted island. Mm-hmm. And nobody's coming there. It's not like a thing. Right. So they're like, all right, don't panic. We do have this 22.5-foot boat, the big one. And it turns out South Georgia Island, only 800 miles away. Now you're like, wait, we've already been gone 500 days. Mm-hmm. And they're like, no. And I'll tell you what, they're like, we're going to go get help. You guys hang out on the island here and be like island people, right?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go for help. They take off. They go and navigation, repairs. They said their sail kept tearing. He's got sailcloth. He keeps replacing it. The boat, they're patched it over and over. Everything's just deteriorating, coming, cutting down. 17 days. They reach the island, but the problem is there's no settlements on the island. And this is a big island.
On the south side of the island, right?
Yeah. So you're like, crap, what are we going to do now? So then they're like, oh, we just have to climb over those mountains. It should only take 3 days to climb over them. And they're like, all right, but let's just take a rest. We got to ease up a little bit, take a breath. He's like, you know what? If I sit down, if I sleep, I ain't getting up. It's one of those, I come in at the end of the day and my wife's like, oh, just sit on the couch, hang out for an hour. I'm like, if I get on the couch.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the end, right?
That's it.
I think
I ain't doing nothing else.
He already had that argument with his wife and he's like, no, we're not going for that.
Once I take my boots off, that's it, man.
That's nothing it. We're done for the day, right? That's it. That's when the beers come out and that's the end of it. So he's like, no beers for anybody till we get somewhere. So they hike over the mountains, still freezing, frozen slopes, no maps, the whole thing. But he's come this far, right? They finally find a whaling station. And again, it says the workers reported thinking they were ghosts. All these stories where people show up, they're always like, are they ghosts?
That's an evil spirit.
What happens? Who are these people, right? But whatever. He's like, all right, no problem. He's like, hey, look, I left everybody back on Elephant Island, a mere 800 miles back. Could we just hop in your boat and, whatever, go
get him.
Go get him. Turns out they actually make 4 attempts to go back and get him, and they don't make it. I don't know how he has the perseverance in a raft, but then when they got a planned crew, they still. But anyway, August 30th, 1916, 2 years after they left England, he returned to Elephant Island. All 22 men were still alive, still waiting. They boarded up. Nobody died, not a member of the expedition, except for the dogs.
Except for the dogs.
69 dogs, didn't make it, but they were tasty. Whatever you got to do.
I've never been interested in eating a dog.
Trying dog? No.
I have accidentally eaten dog once, but I can't really tell you if it was good or not. It was very seasoned, so.
Okay. When I was in Turkey, I want to say Turkey, they, when I was in the Navy, and you'd go to these like street fair things, and they'd have that meat going on the rotisserie stick thing. And I think it was goat. I really don't know. It's goat. So I said to the guy, I was like, is that goat? And it's one of those places with like cats everywhere, like around the food thing. And you're like, am I eating cat? So we said to the guy, we're like, is that goat? And he's like, yes, goat. And then you'd be like, is that cat? He'd be like, yes, cat. And you'd be like, is that dog? Yes, dog. And so I don't know what we ate. So
whatever you want to eat, that's what it is.
That's what it is. Yes. And I'd be like, all right. So anyway, 28 men, the expedition failed. I think that was one of the things they talked about in his book was some people can't let go. Like our job is to cross Antarctica. Right. And he's like, no. The day that they got stuck, he's like, my job is to get people home alive. That's like being able. It's so crazy how people get caught up in this is how things are. And if I just close my eyes and hope, or one of these things, if I deny reality just a little bit longer, then I can, and it's not because people want to hold on to that safe peace of mind, and protect that. But sometimes, and I always get worried that that's like more and more how people are. Like, I feel like society, we're a lot more sheltered. Like, it's that safe space at the college or, whatever.
As long as you got Facebook and the lights are on.
Let me just look at my phone and I'm not going to worry that I can't pay the rent or I can't, whatever. I'm just going to look at the phone and hope for the best. Because it usually works out, and I wonder if, it's that older generation, my generation, whatever, that we took care of the kids a little too good, like.
It's really our fault. You know what I mean? We didn't beat our children enough.
See, because the reason we're all jackasses and can kind of go through everything is because our parents didn't give a shit. They were like, whatever, I got a cocktail, everything's good. You kids, I don't want to see you.
I don't want to see you. Exactly. Go
and
outside.
Tomorrow they'll be like
6 a.m. I don't want to see you until it's dark.
Till you're in the bed. And I mean, the minute you walk in this house, it's bedtime. And because you're not getting in the way of the cocktails. And that's it. And then the kids are like, oh, so we kind of were like, oh, we're going to be good parents.
Yeah.
And then we kind of, hey, let me save you.
Kids.
Let me yank you out of the way of that oncoming traffic. Let me, whatever, do whatever it takes to save you. And then now their kids are like, oh, I don't know. I
remember my friend got hit by a car and he's doing fantastic now. So
see, that's what happens. I had a buddy, Kim, a guy who's a mason, and he's got his Harley, whatever, goes up to a stoplight. And some old lady's like confused, having a stroke or whatever old ladies do, and just runs his ass over, breaks his back and whatever. And he's like, oh, I got to get up and do mason work in the morning. We got to keep going. That's how it goes. I think he did eventually hire like an 18-year-old to come work with him. You go move that heavy stuff over there a little bit, but he's still out doing it. It's crazy. It's a crazy world. But anyway, I appreciate you guys sticking around. And that's the thing, though. Remember to like kind of push on, right? Persevere, push into the, the unknown, right? That's how we get new things. But also, like, don't stop learning, right? Don't just sit there and doom scroll or whatever. And there's nothing wrong. Like, you can get good things out of TV. You can get good things out of Facebook or whatever, out of the reels or whatever, but don't get caught in the junk, Right. Don't be afraid to keep stretching your brain, because you never know when it's going to pay off, right? It might, save you one day. So with that, stay safe. We'll talk to you guys next week.